Good morning. I am Oreinna Daniels, a community organizer with the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation and one of the co-founders of Black Immigrants Collective. We are part of the Freedom to Draft Minnesota Coalition, a large and growing coalition featuring community, faith, labor, and we are here today, and so on. And we're here today because every Minnesotan deserves to be able to work, live, and care for our families. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes. Is this better? Okay. We're excited to be here today to support the License, Access, and Access to Public Safety Act. I'm here because many members in my community, the Black immigrant community, do not have access to drive a license, and this impacts the quality of life. You will notice some of us today are wearing masks. There are other people who are sharing an orange mask out there today. These are faces of those who cannot be here today because of fear. One of these is Alberto, a young undocumented Cameroonian man who cannot do something as simple as join a gym. Another is a Sudanese mother who has a child with a disability and cannot drive her daughter to play dates or doctor's appointments. The Liberian community are facing the termination of DED on March 31st, which is just next month. They will lose their work permits and driver license. We are here for these valued members of our community. And now, I'll introduce to you my co-MC, Jovita.
My name is Jovita. I am the co-founder of the Minnesota Immigrant Movement. We've been leading this campaign since 2009. A lot of tears and different strategy that is being used. This bill will mean sleeping and waking up calm and with peace in our family, neighbors, and communities in which we live. It will mean coming home, being able to kiss and hug our children, dads, uncles, brothers, sisters, wives, and husbands, and of course, our abuelitos, grandfathers. We know that in our society that we happiness and tranquility in our families, it's tied to being able to drive a car and go to work and take our children to the doctor, as it was my case, to the school, to wash the laundry, the clothing, to go to grocery, all while having the security to returning home and embrace our family. I'm excited to be here today to make this reality for our families across Minnesotans. This year, as the Freedom to Drive campaign, Minnesota, it's committed to pass a state law allowing all Minnesotans, regardless of immigration status, to obtain a driver's license. Yeah. So with that said, our first speaker we have today, we're gonna hear from Minnesotans who are coalition members to supporters of the bill, including leaders from businesses, faith and law enforcement community, as well in the House authors. Together, we are proud to work together and champion this issue. So it is the time. So the first speaker is Veronica. I'm gonna introduce Veronica, who's come from Worthington, Minnesota. She's gonna speak about her story, about how she's been impacted.
Hi, my name is Veronica Oreinna, and I am a DACA recipient. My family and I live in southwest Minnesota in a little city called Worthington. My father works at a plantation plant. He's called JBS. He's worked there for about 5 years. And with the support of the local UFC W663, they've helped me come here, and they've supported me coming here to help me speak out and talk about my experience that has caused me a lot of problems throughout the years growing up. when I was growing up in middle school, I had issues going to extracurriculars or attending sports or any sort of after-school activities, something that included out of school. I could not attend. My father works long hours, and his schedule doesn't help get us anywhere, but I'm grateful for what he does every single day. He works so hard to provide for our family. It's just, I want to live a normal life too. I think every child deserves that. This bill will help support many kids in my same situation. I know many kids who want to participate and partake in so many different activities. They help. They tell you, like, go to college, like, these activities will help you. They look good on your resume. But what good is it if you can't attend them because you don't have the resources to? With a simple driver's license, my mother could get that license. She cannot get a driver's license. And with her support, with her having a license, it could help my family out and so many other families. My family works very hard. Both my parents work very hard to keep our family together, and they build to give us a better life every day. And as a next generation, I see that every day. I see that Minnesotans deserve the chance to live and grow and go wherever they want to without fear. And that's why I support the bill. Orellana.
Well, thank you, Veronica, for your inspirational story and for your strength to actually be a voice out here today. Up next, we're going to hear from another Minnesotan, Srey, I believe. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong.
Hello, my name is Srey. I am a co-director of Release Minnesota 8, a Southeast Asian organization working at the intersection of criminal justice and immigration. I'm here to speak on behalf of a family member affected by this issue that brings us all here today. I'm here because of them. Many members of our community are afraid of being publicly identified as undocumented. Those who have chosen to wear masks represent their resilience and determination, as well as the ways in which the lack of driver's license limits their quality of life. My family came to the U.S. in the late 70s and early 80s, during the aftermath of the Southeast Asian wars and genocide. Many of our family members died or were lost. I was 4 years old when we found and reunited with my grandpa. 12 years old when we found and reunited with my half-brother and sister. And 20 years old when we found our uncle, aunt, and 5 cousins in Cambodia. They were struggling out there, so when we got the chance to reunite with them, we were so happy. I grew up with family members clinging to each other, afraid to let go and be separated again. I live in Farmington, Minnesota, and not a day goes by that I don't see one of my 7 siblings or 15 cousins. Family is one of our core values. For many of us, the commute to see family is normal and ordinary. However, for a member of my family and many in the community, movement is limited. The fear of not having driver's license prevents them from having opportunities to support their family and contribute to Minnesota's economy. According to the latest estimates, there are over 250,000 Asian Americans in Minnesota, and approximately 20,000 don't have access to driver's license right now. Minnesota supports families. Not having driver's license keeps loved ones apart, creates challenges around checking on elderly family members, school pickups and drop-offs, as well as doctor visits. I'm here to support this bill because I believe all Minnesotans should be free to drive safely without fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenin. Great. Thank you, Jen. And I actually want to take a moment to thank our police officers who are here today in support of this bill. Thank you for being here. Right. Up next, we're going to hear from supporters from the business community. We're excited to have Dave Buck, the president of the Minnesota Milk Producers, who will share about the importance of this bill for the agriculture community. Dave and his wife, Ann, have 6 children. All of them were active on the farm growing up, and 3 have returned to work with them. Dave Buck. Oh, Dave.
Thank you.
Sorry.
As she said, I'm David Buck, president of Minnesota Milk Producers Association, dairy farmer from Goodhue. We have 2 sons involved in our dairy, and as most of you know, it's a very labor-intensive job. It's 365 days a year. We run probably 20 hours a day. It's a job that simply has to get done.
Yeah, just speak up.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a job that requires a lot of labor. We run 365 days a year. Many farms it's 20 hours a day, and a high percentage of the labor is immigrant labor. We found them to be very good people, very willing to work, very family oriented. We just appreciate the help that they provide us. Minnesota Milk has a long-standing policy of supporting licenses for the immigrants. We want them to get licensed. Obviously, we're in a rural area. It's their only way to get to their job. They can't hop on a bus or light rail or anything. So we support it. We want them to get their license. They can be insured and just continue to be productive members of society.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. We have another voice in our business community that we are happy to have with us. Please welcome to Liz Ryan Mer, the president of CEO of Hospitality Minnesota. She also serves as the executive vice president of the Minnesota Restaurant Association, Minnesota Lodging Association, and Minnesota Resource and Campground Association, as well as CEO of the Hospitality Minnesota Education Foundations.
Good morning. I'm Liz Raymer with Hospitality Minnesota, and we're very supportive of this bill. Our restaurants, hotels, and resorts are highly dependent on immigrant workers to staff them. And we know at this time we're experiencing a huge workforce shortage in our state, and immigrants really help to fill those important world-class service jobs. At the same time, our immigrant workers are wonderful contributors to the communities in which they live. They're entrepreneurs, and we want to support them by being able to go to and from their jobs safely and legally. We think this is a very practical solution to help us with jobs, with commerce, to support our communities, and to support this very important immigration population in our state. And we think this also benefits not just our metro area, but greater Minnesota as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Raymer. We are also pleased today to be joined by Archbishop Bernard Hebda, Bishop of the Catholic Church. Welcome.
Good morning. I am Archbishop Bernard Hebda of the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis. I am honored to speak this morning on behalf of Driver's Licenses for All, a legislative proposal that is long overdue in its passage and one for which there is an urgency to act. As a religious leader, I wish to focus today on the moral imperative of passing this legislation. It assists with a very basic component of what people need to subsist in modern life: transportation, to school, to work, to church. Most of us cannot even begin to imagine what loss of movement or the fear of being deported and separated from our beloved families while doing so would mean in our lives. It is a terrible fear to impose on people and families in our community, and we must do something about it for our brothers and sisters. The failure of our elected officials in Washington to pass comprehensive immigration reform compels us to act here in Minnesota. We should ensure that we do not create a subclass of tens of thousands of undocumented people living in the shadows of our society who are unable or afraid to leave their homes and to do the most basic things that most of us take for granted. In our parishes, most of which serve undocumented persons and their families, the inability to drive or doing so without a license is a major source of stress. Undocumented immigrants who for decades have been able to obtain a license are now no longer able to do so because of the new rules at the DMV. Real people are impacted. Provisional driver's license legislation does not reward lawlessness. Rather, it benefits not only immigrants, but all of us for the public safety reasons that will be discussed here today. I believe that this legislation is an important human rights test. Will we, as Minnesotans, embrace our brothers and sisters and help them in a way that costs us nothing as a community? Or will we be overcome by what Pope Francis calls a culture of indifference that fails in the duty to see the needs of others and respond effectively? I hope today that we as Minnesotans follow the most common biblical moral exhortation to welcome the stranger, and remember that our families too were once strangers in this land who arrived with the same hope that our undocumented community has today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Archbishop Hebda, for your support in our community that has been suffering for decades, and we deserve dignity and respect. So we are honored by your presence today. Finally, this year we have the new authors of the bill, and we have to honor also the authors in the past. They are here, and we're gonna introduce, beginning with Gomez, and then we also have Hamilton, and then the majority leader. But I'm gonna call Aisha Gomez to hear and to talk.
Good morning. My name is Aisha Gomez. I am the state representative from District 62B, which is South Minneapolis. It's an honor to be here today. What you see in front of you is the representation of more than a decade of work in community. You can see represented behind me members of the faith community, of law enforcement, of our business community, our agricultural community, our labor community. And also, of course, joining us are many members of the Minnesota House of Representatives. So we have people behind me who have been champions on this bill over many, many years and many sessions. Representative Mariani is here, Representative Hornstein is here. Also joining us today are members of our delegation who are new, like me. We have members from the GOP delegation. This is truly a community effort. This is a true coalition. And we know that, that when we do work in coalition with one another, across boundaries, across the places where people would have us be divided, and we stand together, that we do work that is more powerful. We do work that reflects the realities that Minnesota families are living with. And so, we also have people joining us today who are doing so at great personal risk. And I want to acknowledge that. And I want to also acknowledge that there are people for whom the risk is too great to be with us. So we're hundreds today, but we're thousands. And we're tens of thousands. So I just want to say to the community that has joined us, that we see you in this space, that we appreciate your presence, that we thank you for your work, and we thank you for your patience, and we hope that we won't have to be patient for very much longer, because it's time. The time has come. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So our next is Representative Hamilton. He's been in the past the author of the bill, and now he's still on board, right?
That's right. I don't know. Can you hear me all right? Does that work? All right. I'll try to sit up straight, all right? So, well, welcome everybody. You know, like people have said previously, we've been working on this for a very long time. And I just want to echo what was previously said. Look behind us. We have been able to gain support from law enforcement, clergy, businesses, the ag industry, black, brown, and white. It does not matter. People are coming together to rally behind the support of this. And it's been just a wonderful, wonderful thing. As a legislator, I ask myself, what can I do as a legislator? And I choose to take a proactive approach. This is why I've been a strong supporter of the DREAM Act. It's about educating our children. I'm a strong supporter of the driver's license bill as well for the reasons that were outlined here earlier. And again, this is not a partisan issue. I've been a strong supporter of this for a number of years, and I will encourage my colleagues to support this as well. I want to thank everybody for being here. Again, this is a beautiful thing, and it's simply the right thing to do. Thank you.
So now we're gonna hear this year is a new authorship of the bill. I wanna introduce the Majority Leader, Ryan Winkler.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Winkler. I'm the Majority Leader of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Immigrants come to this country on the promise of freedom and opportunity, and they are a vital part of our communities. They contribute to the vibrancy, the culture, the work, and the family life that we all enjoy today. Too many Minnesotans today don't have access to the simple ticket to safe driving, public safety, connection with family and work that is the driver's license. And the Minnesota House of Representatives this year is determined and absolutely committed to passing this bill. We have a coalition of members, of people, both Republicans and Democrats. We have Senate supporters. We have people in the community who worked on this for a long time. We have law enforcement, business, and agricultural leaders supporting this bill. It is the right thing to do. It is essential for our community's economic success, for public safety, and to make sure that the people who come to this country and are in part of our communities are successful. I am very proud and humbled to stand here today with all of you and join you in this effort and this cause, and we are absolutely committed to getting it done this year. Yep, we have questions?
So just before he leaves, wow, thank you. Powerful. Just before you leave, if anyone have questions, he can take a few questions if you have any.
Can I ask, what is the price tag for this bill?
There is a very small fiscal note from the Department of Public Safety to update how they keep records, but it is insignificant.
And essentially, what would the law do to protect people who are undocumented signing up to be?
So what the law does is it allows people to, the law will allow people to apply for driver's licenses without having to prove their status. And so they can use official government documents, which are standard for primary, and then a long list of secondary documents that they need in order to prove their identity. This law and this approach was the law in Minnesota until 2002. And so for a long time, you did not need to prove your status in order to get a driver's license. So what we are trying to do is make sure that we go back to a system that allows people to take a driver's test, have insurance on the road, make sure that they're driving safely, and not be penalized for trying to do the right thing for their family and the community and the work that they do.
Winkler, if I can just ask you, sir, realistically, what is the chance that this is going to pass with the Republican Senate?
We are currently working on Senate Republican authors for the bill, and in fact we have a number of Senate Republicans who are very interested in doing the bill. We are introducing it today in the House as a first step, but we are very actively working with Senate Republicans to build support and to make this issue something that is about law enforcement, public safety, and business, not necessarily only about the human rights issue. And we think that that broader outreach effort will pay off. And we have very high hopes that this will succeed.
But do you have anybody lined up? I mean, realistically, is this a long shot?
This is not a long shot. There are more than one Senate Republican author interested in carrying this bill.
I believe we have another question here.
Yeah.
I had the same question, but I guess tell me a little bit about why you became interested to support this particular bill.
Well, this issue has been an issue for far too long. People have come to the Capitol, there have been hunger strikes. It is time, in this time especially, in the national environment that we are in today, that we say that we are firmly on the side of decency and respect for people who are working and contributing to our communities. I think that the national conversation has really been it's been a calling the question on whether the majority of us believe in decency and dignity and human lives, or whether we are choosing to be divisive and turn against each other. I think a majority of Minnesotans, I think a majority of Americans are ready to stand up for our immigrant communities, and this is an important way that we can do it.
Juries, how do you kind of shut down the argument that you're going to hear from the other side that this is somehow a pathway to documentation?
Well, we don't control federal documentation. That's exclusively a national issue. What we can do is make sure that our roadways are safe, that when people are driving they can get insurance and have a road test and have a driver's license test, and make sure that public safety is taken care of in our community and in our state. And if people don't want to support these issues, we will seek to persuade them that for very many reasons this is the right thing to do. And I think that this issue has grown from something that a select few people were trying to raise as an issue into an issue that is now much broader. And I think the time has come to pass this bill, and I think people recognize that this is squarely in the center of our politics.
In another state, there was a focus on undocumented immigrants being targeted for deportation after applying for a license. How will you consider the relationship between ICE and DPS?
This bill contains very strong data protections so that when people come in to make these applications, their information that they are providing will be kept at the Department of Public Safety and not shared with any other agency.
Do we have one last question?
How would it affect or not affect access to voting?
This would not affect access to voting. Currently, if you are, for example, have a work permit and can get a driver's license and proof status, you can't use your license to get to show up at the polls and vote. So this wouldn't affect it at all.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.